Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Berg, and this is the Ageless Traveler. And I am so happy today to bring to you, I would say, a kindred spirit. Her name is Sucheta Rawal, and she is not only a travel writer, not only a travel speaker, but she's created her own nonprofit organization to really do a lot of good in this world. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Adrienne.
One of the things that you've done, and it's an interesting approach, is taking a look at inclusiveness. Tell me what you mean by inclusiveness and how you want to make an impact with regard to that.
So, I was born and brought up in India, and I never traveled outside of the country till my first trip, which was to come to the United States during the 97 Olympics. And when I was here, I just felt like, wow, I was in this beautiful, diverse world. If you've been to any big city in the United States, I came to Atlanta. There are people from all different nationalities, speaking different languages, and having all these different restaurants. So my thing is food, and I ate my way around the world right here in the city. And I felt like, I wanted to know more about these people who are cooking it. How do they eat these dishes in their homes? Why do they make some things the way they do? So my diversity lens came from the food culture, which I think a lot of people feel affinity to food before they even start looking at different cultures. And that's how my love for looking at diversity and travel was born.
Well, I have to put in a plug for the great state of New York in terms of that. Now, we're talking about Atlanta, Georgia. I happen to love it. I've been there many times, and I also enjoy going to theater there. They have some great theater, you guys.
Mhm.
But if you go on the subway in Queens, I'm not kidding, subway, you can get off at every single stop in Queens, New York, a borough of New York City. And each stop is a different ethnic neighborhood and
Yes.
different ethnic restaurants. So
Yeah.
I'm going to say you're right, eating yourself around the world. Now, you also have a 501c3 that
Yes.
deals exactly with that. We're going to put that on our show notes. Everybody will be able to donate if they would like. But tell us about that organization. It's just so exciting that you've done that.
Thank you. So I started Go Eat Give in 2011. And the reason, because a lot of my readers were asking me that I'm having all these unique experiences when I travel, where I go into people's homes and try their food, when I'm volunteering in the community, and I'm going to locations that are not often listed in the tour, in the books
Yeah.
for travelers to go to. And so my readers were saying, well, you're having these neat experiences that I cannot find online. Could you help us plan a trip? I started organizing volunteer vacations where adults, and a lot of them were mature adults, who wanted to have a nice room, but then also have that community interaction where they may be helping out for part of the day, but then also going to somebody's home for a dinner at night and having a conversation with them. So that was the initial premise of Go Eat Give. But then we also started hosting events here where people felt like they went to a country for just an evening. These were, we called it destination dinners,
Right.
where we would host it at a restaurant. Then you can try all the different dishes from the restaurant. We would have the whole place just for our event, and we'll bring in speakers and artists who would talk about where to go when you would visit the country. But we also talked about a lot of important issues that people don't really get to hear in the mainstream media. So, for example, we had this American lady who was working in Kabul as an engineer, and we had her come and speak to the guests about what it was
What it's like to
like
be there.
being a female and working in Afghanistan. And people were able to get a different opinion of, what they see in the news. It's all one aspect of the country, but then there are other aspects. And then we had performers who were women dressed in traditional Afghan clothing, and they were doing these beautiful dances. And people were, well, I didn't think that women were allowed to dance in Afghanistan. And, when they tried the food, they had a little bit of opening to their minds. So the idea with Go Eat Give, which has been around for, gosh, 14 years now, It's been to change the mindset of people a little bit at a time and starting with food because who doesn't want to eat?
Yes. So my
Mhm.
people are particularly culture vultures. They will love to go on your destination dinners and the trips that you put together, and we'll have all that information. And finally, on voluntourism, and I'm looking at you guys, we do have the Ageless Ambassador program where you can volunteer. That's why we do these interviews because we can really make a relationship. Okay, now we're going to take a little bit of a break, but when I come back, I want to ask you about your favorite food. You knew I was going to do that. Your favorite dish. I know it's like babies. You can't say which baby you love more, but we're going to pick your brain about what to eat. Don't you guys go anywhere. What are you doing between March 29th and April 12th, 2025? Are you going on safari? Well, we are. Please come with us on our very first Ageless Traveler trip. I will make sure that you see everything that's on your bucket list. We're going with the very famous Colette Tours, one of the oldest tour operators in the United States. They know us, they respect us, and they provide for us everything that we need. Yes, we are going to Kenya. We will see the city of Nairobi. We're going to the Serengeti. We will see the Big Five. We will also have adventures of a lifetime. If you have been studying safari, or even if you have gone on many safaris, this is something really different. So, how do you find out about it and get your special discounts because you're an ageless traveler? Very simple. Go to agelesstraveler.com. That's our website, agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at featured trips. Get the details by clicking right there. You can do everything from inquire, get your question answered, to book right away so that you're going with us. It is a terrific, terrific tour. And by the way, you can also go to the Masai Mara on an optional pre-trip tour. There's a lot more to it than that because there's yet more opportunity if you have longed to trek with the gorillas in Uganda. Yep, we can make that happen too. So please take a look at agelesstraveler.com, featured travel, and go on safari with us. And now we're back. Let me reintroduce you to Sucheta Rawal, a leader in our tourism industry to get keyed into diversity and inclusion. Where should we eat? I am not a foodie. So where should we go? What's your very favorite cuisine?
Well, I have to say, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, India is your best bet
Yeah.
because you're looking at a country of 1 billion people and about 50% of them are vegetarian. So you will have absolutely no problem there. 90% of our meals were vegetarian. But there are other places in the world where I have taken travelers who have dietary restrictions. Indonesia has been one of the best countries, especially Bali. It's mainly Hindu-based cuisine, so very vegetarian. Even in the Middle East, like Turkey, Israel, Morocco, I've had absolutely no problem eating actually a lot of veggies. I've had so many options. And I feel like whenever you go to a restaurant, if you make a face-to-face interaction with the chef or the owner and just tell them, where you're from, like they see my face and they're like, oh, you're from India, you probably want vegetarian food. They bring me a platter of all their best vegetarian dishes without even having me order anything.
So I'll tell you, I was in a Michelin restaurant in Italy, and the chef really struggled. He brought me three different dishes, and finally the fourth one was exactly right. So you really do have to persevere. Now I'm going to say something to you guys. I need low salt. My husband is diabetic, and we have a real campaign about particularly cruise ships putting on the menu at least one low salt and one low sugar menu. You can get it by asking for it the day before from the cruise food manager. So you can get it, but it does kind of call you out. And yet they'll have a vegan dish, but they won't have a low salt or low sugar dish. So that's my big campaign, folks, and hopefully you will also complain because you're all cruisers. Now, I still didn't get the answer. What's your favorite? Because maybe it's Katz's delicatessen. I don't know. What's your
Oh.
favorite food?
My favorite food, I love Italian, and I feel like I was maybe Italian in past life because the first thing I learned to cook was Italian. I loved gelato so much when I was traveling in Italy. I ate it 3 times a day, and then I could not find it here when I came home. So I went to the Gelato and Pastry Institute in New York and got a certification in gelato making so I could make it at home for myself and my family and have that real flavor of gelato made the old-fashioned way, where you would beat the yolks and make it from scratch and not add any additives or stabilizers. So whenever I get gelato, I have to taste it to see if it's the real thing.
Well, that sounds fabulous. I will tell you that Corfu, because I've been there a few times, and every time I go to a particular gelato place. It's
Hmm.
right next to a biscotti place, but it's in Corfu, and it's just delicious. So bear that in mind. For me, I'm really basically a pescatarian. So for me, fresh fish. And I have to say that a trip down the Bosporus
Hmm.
from Istanbul
Yeah.
to the villages where they have the fresh fish that they give you was so important to me that my husband and I, on our 52nd anniversary, yeah, we've been married more than 52 years, that was our trip. And the fish is just out of this world. But for the vegetarian stuff, I like Uzbekistan. Now, not everybody can get on the
Oh.
Silk Road, but I have to say that going on the Silk Road tours, we were there for
Hmm.
about 3 weeks with the
Hmm.
ministry. It was amazing for vegetarian dishes. We got
Yeah.
we got about 150 miles away from Afghanistan. I would have loved to go to your Afghanistan event.
Let me also add, Vienna has been
Oh,
surprisingly vegetarian, vegan friendly. I've done some Michelin star tasting dinners there at these restaurants that are entirely vegetarian. And these are chefs who were formerly Michelin trained and they had 3 stars, but now they oriented their restaurant to be completely vegan. So if that's something you should also add to your travel list.
that's wonderful. We love Vienna for the schlag, for the whipped cream and the salsa torts and all that wonderful, wonderful old time Viennese. Here in the US, if you have a buffet, let's say a wedding
Mhm.
or a bar mitzvah or anything, and you have a table of your desserts, it used to be called in my day the Viennese.
Mhm.
So the
Yes.
dessert table was called a Viennese. Why? Because of the wonderful desserts in Vienna. So where
Mhm.
are you going next? And where are you taking people next? Let's hear about that.
I have a trip actually coming to your city in New York this weekend and then Asheville next week. As you know, Asheville had a lot of problem after
Yes.
the hurricanes and flooding. So they are reopened and they want travelers to come. And I will be going to research some stories on how the community has come together to help reopen so quickly. It's only been 5, 6 weeks. They have water is fully restored. All the hotels and restaurants are open. All the areas may not be fully open, but they do want travelers to come and support the community, especially this time of the year. The holiday season is their peak time. They want people to come and shop for arts and food and try the restaurants and stay. So that's what I will be doing next week. And then I am sending some people to Uganda.
Yes.
I was there a couple of months ago. Also, one of my favorite destinations for conservation, the wildlife, the environment.
Will they be
But
trekking with the gorillas? Will they be going on a
yes,
yeah.
yeah, they will be trekking with gorillas, chimpanzees, golden monkeys, and the game drives. But the people in Uganda, I feel like they are the most strong spirited and so entrepreneurial. Every single person I met, they were trying to start a new business that helps the community and not just get ahead themselves, but also create opportunities for others. So it's a wonderful story, and 100% of the proceeds give back to the local community from the choice of the accommodations we pick, the tour operators, all the excursions they do, where they shop, everything is supporting the locals.
So this is wonderful. Africa has been our concentration for the past 2 months. So you will find on our podcast, trekking with the gorillas, we're going to go. And maybe we will go. We'll have Sucheta take care of that for us. We're doing that in the summer because the International Federation on Aging conference is in South Africa, and we deal a lot with Uganda as well. The other thing I want everybody to know is that when it comes to our podcasts, we have wonderful ones on Namibia, wonderful ones on Africa in general, how to select your game drives. So, and we do have a trip offered now to Kenya and Tanzania in May. So don't you guys go anywhere. We'll learn about how you can take the kids and get them to be travel addicts. Don't go anywhere. Are you culturally curious, but you can't always travel? Or do you have a loved one that you are a caregiver for and you'd love to see them travel, but they really cannot do so? Well, we have affiliated with Wowzitude. You might have read about it in Forbes magazine. It's the online real-time travel guide. You can actually visit places on your computer, on your telephone, and of course on your TV. Simply go to agelesstraveler.com, take a look at the travel products, and you will see a list under Wowzitude of some of the places you could have gone this week. For example, England, Rome, and all of the places that you feel you just might have missed because, gee whiz, they're so far away. How about traveling to Ecuador? And what about here in the USA? Well, Wowzitude is renowned for bringing real-time travel experiences to your home. And we've affiliated with them because, while we know you never want to stop traveling, sometimes you have to travel from your armchair. It's Wowzitude, the agelesstraveler.com travel products. And now we're back, and I want to say again, so, we're talking about inclusiveness in travel, all the wonderful things that you do with regard to travelers like myself. But let's talk about the kids for a minute. Something possessed you to write travel books for children. Tell us a little bit about that, because skip generation is the words we use when grandparents are taking grandchildren to travel. Sometimes the parents stay home. And it's a big trend in travel for older adults, mom and pop and grandma travel. So how do you get the kids involved? Well, let them read a book. Tell us about your book.
Yeah, so Adrienne, I want to start with I grew up with my grandmother. So all the travel I did growing up within India was with her. And I can totally relate to it. And it created so many memories. You will see a lot of the stories I write often start with referring to her, just because she was an essential part of my life with all the travels we did together. So the kids' books came about because when I was traveling, I was meeting a lot of kids. One of the trips, I was in Greenland and I stayed at this sheep farm. It was very, very remote. The only way to get there was a boat going through glaciers. And then it was just a sheep farm by itself. There was a 7-year-old girl and her parents. That's it on this farm. And their nearest neighbor was 40 minutes by boat. And she didn't have any cell phones, any internet, any television. But this girl, Ina, she was having conversations with me like an adult. And she spoke 5 languages. And I was like, wow, how are kids growing up in such a remote area and able to educate themselves so well and be culturally intelligent to talk to strangers? So that's where the story was born. And I felt like I needed to tell Ina's story to other kids who are living around the world and their story to Ina. And as I was sitting in my couch with my cat and my laptop one winter, everything just struck together. And I was like, we need to start a book series that is about the traveling cat. The cat is my real cat. He is here in Atlanta.
What's the name of your cat?
His name is Beato.
Uh-huh.
He is a Norwegian forest cat. So he has
Of
a
course.
dog-like personality. He's very curious, but he's also very friendly. And the story is about him traveling. Of course, he's not traveling in real life, it's me. But then the kids and the pictures, everything in the books is real based on where I have been. And as I was researching in the bookstores and libraries and talking to parents, I did not find a whole lot
How
around
is it? How
that
is it?
teaches kids about the world. You'll have you hear of book about an Israeli kid or a Native American kid, but really there was nothing which was a whole series. So that was the idea of Beato Goes To, and then the name of the country. So in every book, he goes to a different country. He learns about the culture, the people, wildlife, festivals, destinations, the currencies, and all the photographs are based on where I was. But I
Yeah.
used some really nice illustrators. So these read almost like comic books. They are highly graphic. And even if kids are not yet reading, the parents are reading to
Great.
them, they can pick up on the photos.
So, of course, as we always say, you guys, this will all be in the show notes. We also have a book page at agelesstraveler.com. It'll be on our book page. And shameless plug for your kids who maybe don't know about money. I won a couple of National Librarian Awards for our series on money for kids called the Totally Awesome Money Books for Kids.
Hmm.
So there we go. We have a lot in common, a lot more than you think. So let's go back, though, to how you create a travel experience. People know about travel agencies, about a tour operator where they'll go online and they'll see the standard tours. There are just so many options, so many things. So explain how an advisor like yourself works to create a tour. And you can use the Uganda gorilla tour as an example.
Sure, sure. So, my role as an advisor is to guide you based on your expectations, your needs, your interests. So, I really like to get to know people like friends first and understand their personalities. And secondly, I have been on ground. So, a lot of people you're talking to travel agents may have gone on one fam trip a year, but they really don't have that expansive knowledge of, say, having been to 120 countries like me.
Really be on the ground, really be on
Yeah.
the ground.
So they might come to me and say, I want to go on a gorilla trek. And I would say, well, Uganda has this to offer and Rwanda has this to offer. I would recommend this particular lodge because they have the Huda chairs that you can get on, and it costs $300 in case you have mobility restrictions, but you still want to go on the trek, or you feel like you want to do some of the trek and then get on the Huda chair. Here's what I can arrange. But even within Uganda, there are 10 different sites you can do the gorilla trek. And most people know Bivindi because that is the most popular one, and they give out 100 passes a day. But then there are a lot of smaller ones that only give out 10 passes a day. So it's a much more intimate experience. So I would, based on their needs, guide them to one of those locations and have them stay near one of those trekking areas where they're not going with 100 people. They might be the only people who are going. It's very private. And then they also have the personal arrangements for them. So I think that knowledge you only know if you have been there. Some of the small things you don't even know, like, do I need to take steps to get to my room?
Right.
Or is there a step between my room and my bathroom? Like, those are some simple things that we don't even think about. You cannot find a lot of
Until you
that
get there. Then
online.
you think, yeah, until you get there, then you think about it.
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to go to my soapbox for a minute here. One of the things about Uganda, as you say, there are many, many choices. And one of the things that happens to us as older travelers is they diminish our capacity. A guide or a tour operator or even a designer of tours will more likely underestimate our ability than
Hmm.
overestimate. They're so worried that we can't make it that they don't send us to the most exciting, most adventurous things. So everybody's trekking in this incredible adventure, and we're in a place that looks like a zoo
Hmm.
because they just put us in some created habitat. And I found that when I was reading through the different Uganda adventures. Uh,
Hmm.
and you mentioned Greenland. Give me an example. Happens to be one of my favorite places, and I was just there very, very recently. And I wanted to go to the iceberg area. And all of the folks who got off the ship were either told it was too difficult for them, and they actually stayed on the ship if they had some gray hair, or they were put in a boat where you got to go around the icebergs, but really not go to the icebergs.
Hmm.
I got off by myself. I wouldn't do either of these. And I got into a small boat. There were only my husband, myself, and one young lady from Taiwan. We got to touch the icebergs. And it was a tiny boat. And it was a scary boat. But the fact that, and of course, the fellow who operated it did, he only spoke Greenlandish.
Hmm.
So you were kind of isolated on this boat and you were head to toe in furs. Everybody else didn't have any of that because they didn't have the danger, but the adventure of it. And frankly, it was very easy. And it
Yeah.
breaks my heart when older people go to an incredible adventure and it gets really cut off because other people think they can't do it. So I get
Mhm.
upset about that. And that's why somebody designing a trip just be will know, as you say, you know the people.
Mhm.
So you know if the person is 80 years old, they could be faster than you
Oh, yeah. I
because
have
you
met
know who
several
they
80 years
are.
old faster than me.
Plenty of them, right? I particularly in Norway. I think I'm so great because I do, hiking, and everybody else is 50 miles ahead of me the minute we get started because they really are much more fit. But so that's
Yeah.
a wonderful thing to do. Now I'm going to be blunt, and then we're going to take a break and come back for our end session. The bluntness is money. Um, as you heard, the Totally Awesome Money Book for Kids, I'm a money book writer too. So is it more expensive to use a person who's going to design, and how many people will be on that one tour? Do you have to bring your own crowd or do you put groups together?
So in what I do it in an individual basis. It can be just you going, or you can bring your friends, your family, you can put a group together. Obviously, the more people there are traveling together, the expense per person will go down. And that depends on if it's we are renting just a SUV for 6 people, then that will keep the cost lower than say we rent a bus for 20 people, right? But then your cost of the guide and the cost of your tours, you're getting a little bit of a discount there. So yes, traveling individually is a little bit more expensive than traveling in a group. I don't put people grouped together because, like you said earlier, everybody has a different expectation and they have a different need. So this very rarely I take groups with me to India because it's to my hometown and they get to see my grandmother. But I also vet them out. I have them meet here before they go either on Zoom or in person. And I say, this is going to be your group. If you want feel like you are good travel buddies, you get along, and you have the same expectation from the trip. I think that's important and that can make or break a trip. If you have strangers you don't get along with or who just feel like, they want different things from the trip. In terms of how expensive it is, we are a 501(c)(3), so I actually work completely voluntarily for my organization. I do charge a fee for consulting, but 100% of it goes back to the nonprofit. So it is almost a tax write-off for you to have a consultation with an expert, and then you're also helping the community. What I also say to people is we don't do discounted fares. So if you go to Expedia and Orbitz and you say, oh, I'm looking at this hotel and it's $100 cheaper, that's because I don't have these discounted bulk fares. I believe in giving 100% of the asking price to the hotel or the tour operator. And I work directly with them. So I'm not even going through any of these IATA travel agent portals. I contact the hotel directly. I say, what is the rate that you would offer? And I want to pay you what you deserve. Because I think a lot of times people get caught in the discounted fares and they're looking for the best deals, not realizing that it is coming out of someone's pocket.
Well, now when we come back, we're going to basically take a riff on what you just said, and that is how tourism does change the world. Don't you guys go anywhere. I want to introduce you to one of the nicest travel accessories I have ever come across. It's called Sleep Keeper. And what does it do? It's a beautiful multicolors. You have lots of choices of colors. Pillowcase. Yes, a pillowcase, not a pillow. You can bring your own pillow as you travel, whether you want to use it for the plane, whether it's for comfort for somebody that you love and you want to bring their pillow with them, a child, somebody that has some issues or challenges when it comes to travel, or you just like a great night's sleep and none of the hotels ever give you the pillow that you want. What does it do? Well, it wraps around the pillow to make it only 1/3 of its bulk. It allows you to take it with you if you're going through customs. It allows you to take it through security. You could drop it in a suitcase, including just a small overnight bag, and you've got your pillow with you. It's called Sleep Keeper. It's under $40, and it is a great gift for the holiday seasons, for Mother's Day, Father's Day, whatever you like. How do you get it? Well, it's very simple, and you get a discount. You simply go to our website, agelesstraveler.com, products and services. agelesstraveler.com, products and services. You'll see it on our show notes, and you simply buy from there. You'll find all the information that you would on any other outlet for sleep keepers, but with this, you'll also find the discount. And now we're back, and it's kind of sad because this is our last segment. We're here with Sucheta Rawal, and she is one of the leaders in inclusive travel. She's one of the leaders in helping you teach your kids and your grandchildren the love of travel through her books, her children's books. You'll see it all on the show notes. Now I want to go back to the broader picture with you.
Yes.
Have you seen inclusiveness and reach out in the travel industry? You speak about it all the time. You're a keynoter. I talk about ageism. We have a badge where we recognize companies as age-friendly through a company called Ageless Tourism. Are you seeing a change? Like green, everybody's green. So that that worked. What about general inclusiveness?
I think we are seeing a slow change, especially in the past 4 years since the pandemic. I can say, as a writer, being someone who is from Asian culture, and I'm probably one of the handful of travel writers from an American Indian here in the United States. Until 4 years ago, I was not as well known or well recognized than I feel like I am now, just because there's been more push for diversity, for diverse voices, for writing from first-hand opinions. I think we are recognizing why it is important and why we need to have that diversity of opinions, of telling stories about these places that have traditionally been visited by more affluent travelers.
Yes.
So that is changing. You're also seeing the description of travelers changing. The demographics are now, a lot of it are Asian, African American, baby boomers, as well as younger people who are working remotely and traveling for most of their year. So we are recognizing that we don't have to cater to just this small population of people who are taking the 2 weeks all-inclusive vacation, but there may be other people who are like myself who can afford that, but also want to do something different, more adventure, more inclusive cultural activities. I think we are seeing a lot of trend in hands-on, meeting people, understanding how people live and how they work. To give you an example of Africa, going back to it, I think that is the most inclusive right now in terms of creating job opportunities for younger and older locals. I don't think any continent is as progressing faster as Africa is. I've been back 3 times
That's
this
true.
year.
I talk about that all the time. They have a lot to go, and because they have a lot to go, they go in there faster.
Yes,
They're
exactly.
also the youngest continent, but they're getting to be older faster
Right.
because everything is new, everything from sanitation to good water to new technology. So people are
Hmm.
living longer exponentially.
Mm.
Here in the US, we already lived longer, so to demographically live an extra month or half a month takes something.
Hmm.
They're living 5 years longer than ever and 10 years longer than ever. Yeah, it's quite right. It's exploding.
Yeah, and even earning more. Like in Uganda, the average salary still is about $3 a day,
Yes,
you
yes,
know. But then I met maybe 100 people in my trip over a week who had no employment 4 years ago, and
yes.
they're happy to be making $3 a day.
Today.
You know, just bringing in that tourism dollars and helping them in advancing their communities.
So I got to tell you something, folks. It's because of you. You. 1.6 trillion trips are expected to be taken by people over the age of 60 in the next 25 years. And we're not going around the corner. We're going all over the world. So I'm going to leave this with a new series, a new book series for your cat. Listen to this one. We did a video for the UN on older people, 70s, 80s, 90s, keeping up the traditions, like you talked about Afghanistan and dancing, keeping the cultural traditions alive. And it was pretty sensational. It was much older people in incredible costumes, musicians, some of them were musicians, dancers, and so on. And it gave, like you said, a whole new look at a culture, like your
Hmm.
cat goes to different cultures for understanding. Well, this gave a whole new look at older people and their contribution to travel. So maybe your cat could go could go to one of those dance which we had all over the world. I'll send it to you.
Hmm.
And not only would they be illuminating the culture of certain very interesting areas of the world, all over the world, but also the fact that older adults are part of that.
Yeah,
We're not sitting there in the closet. We are, without us, those cultures and traditions would not be known.
absolutely.
Everybody asks me, what was your favorite country? And I always say it's like men, the last one. But do you have a favorite if you could go back over and over again? Would there be one particularly for the culinary adventures?
For culinary adventures, I love going back to Italy and Israel.
Mhm.
Um, I think it's just such a rich farm to table is not a new concept, right? They've been doing that for hundreds
Yes,
of years and really well. And I remember sitting in Tuscany and ordering, looking at the menu, and they said, "Well, we don't eat fish here because it's the sea is 100 miles away." And
right.
imagine that doing that here in Atlanta, like, oh, we don't have serve fish on any restaurant menu,
Yes.
right? So I love going back to Italy for the food and Israel for the melting pot of different cultures and how they have retained their recipes over time. There would be this one place who are just doing one dish. They'll be doing that over and over again, you know, and they've perfected it. They don't want to expand. There's one restaurant that just does hummus, one does burekas, one does babkas, and that's it. And I love that. I love that you can taste a piece of history while walking through it.
Yes. So we thank you so much. I mean, even that little inspirational quote there, tasting a piece of history. Beautifully said. So thank you so much. And for everybody else, please do go on our YouTube and subscribe, like us on Apple and Spotify. We have Travel Tuesdays. We have a newsletter every single Tuesday. People have found it very interesting adjunct to what we talk about on the air. And of course, very important, please join our free Facebook salon. We call it a salon because you all share together. You'll find all of this information, including Sucheta, on agelesstraveler.com and never stop traveling.